Hello and welcome to another edition of Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. As always, I'm Madeline Dubeck here with Matt Dietrich, and this week we are joined again by Kerry Lester, the Associated Press Bureau Chief, in from Springfield. Hi, Kerry. So this is the big week, the end of session. Looks like things are going to wrap up on Sunday night, and in a dramatic turn of events this week, we had House Speaker Michael Madigan announcing on Memorial Day Monday that the Democratic majorities in the House and Senate were going to proceed with their own budget bill, which is north of $3 billion more than what the state would take in from taxpayers. And as promised, true to his word, the Speaker has proceeded with doing that, and the Senate has done the same. And so what is going on here, Matt? What's this all shaking out as? You had an observation about how to think about it today.
Well, it really seems like from the Rauner perspective, you create the budget, you see the glass half full, and you say, well, that's how much we have to spend. Whereas with the Democrats, it's almost like the glass is half full, so now we need to fill it up to a level that is appropriate to what we want to spend. And Kerry, is that kind of what you're seeing down there?
I think that's right, Matt. I think that Speaker Madigan, no surprise, has said all along that he feels that the budget cannot just be made by cuts and it can't just be made by new revenue. So Democrats this week are passing many pieces of the budget. We saw a few move today, we saw a few move yesterday that comprised this $36.3 billion plan, about a $5 billion difference from the plan that the governor presented during his budget address in February. And so the Democrats say that they want to work with the governor to find out ways to make up the $3 billion difference in their plan between what the state is taking in and between what they want to spend. But the governor has closed the door to that until he gets pieces of his pro-business reform agenda. And in the legislature this week, we saw a polite airing in the Senate, but three main planks of that plan on property tax freeze, on tort reform, and gosh, I'm blanking on the third, but they all got voted down by Senate committees.
Workers' comp, was that the third one, Kerry?
You got it. It was a long hearing. It was over 2 hours, and yes, you had all sides testifying. And I asked State Senator Don Herman, if some Democrats are going to plan to vote these down anyway, why spend all this time during crunch time, during the last week of session? And he said he thought it was important to not only get the governor's views out there. He's been taking to the bully pulpit around the state to talk about why the state needs these, but to get the side of injured workers on the record as well.
Okay, so, and then there also were term limits and redistricting reform were a couple of other of the governor's demands that didn't even get hearings in either of the chambers and probably won't be taken seriously. So they're going to adjourn presumably at midnight or so on May 31st on Sunday night. And then what happens? We've got a clear impasse here, gridlock. Will we have an overtime session? Will we have a special session? You talked to the comptroller's office a little bit about that, Matt. How does that all shake out?
The comptroller's office right now is looking into what happens if we go another month and there's no budget. As of July 1st, they have no authority to write checks, and that's when you run into real problems. But for now, what we do know is that if the governor calls a special session and brings everyone back to Springfield, then the lawmakers get their regular $111 a day per diem. If they just stay there in overtime, if Speaker Madigan and Senate President Cullerton tell them to stay there for overtime session, they don't get their per diem. So I don't know how that's going to work. We don't know how that's going to. Kerry, I don't know if you have any indication of what happens after midnight on May 31st. Do they stick around Springfield or what?
I guess time will tell, Matt. I think we're hearing that perhaps they could wrap up even earlier than the scheduled midnight adjournment on Sunday if they get the budget done and feel like there's nothing left to negotiate with the governor, or if they want to wait and let cooler heads prevail in a few weeks. But the thing I find myself thinking about is, even if they pass a budget, is Speaker Madigan or Senate President Fullerton, are they going to sit on it for a while and try to force the governor's hand as the clock winds down and checks are becoming more and more necessary for state worker payroll and schools as they begin their new term in the fall?
So it's maybe even a possibility that they would pass their budget and leave and not actually hand it to him until July, at which time the clock really starts ticking and there are actual ramifications to not having a budget in place.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of possibilities here, and this is a place where many magical things can happen.
Well, a lot of magic happening this week. So what should taxpayers be on the lookout for in these weeks and months ahead as this thing shakes out? Because there's obviously pretty heated rhetoric flying back and forth right now, and the governor has pretty much an unlimited budget to start airing ads against Madigan and Fullerton if he should choose to. What do you expect will happen, Kerry?
Madeline, I think that's the first thing to watch for. If the legislature does adjourn, watch for the governor to take to the streets of Illinois and take to the airwaves. Use those many millions of dollars he had sitting in his political action committee to talk about how Democrats were unwilling to compromise on these things he wanted. As he said, he'd open the door to new revenue if he got his pro-business reforms. I think that you saw a very different type of messaging this week between the governor and between Speaker Madigan. Speaker Madigan, when he announced the budget plan, he held a press conference with reporters, but I got the sense he was really speaking to the governor. The governor is going to be alternatively trying to speak to the people. His press shop were releasing very much campaign-style releases this week, as they noted Democrats were unwilling to compromise on different pieces of the budget. So that is going to be their message point.
Okay. So what is, how, at some point the governor and the speaker and the Senate president are going to have to talk to each other and come to an agreement. How's that going to happen, Matt?
Well, I don't know, to tell you the truth, because the way it appears right now is it looks to me like these two sides are talking past each other. The Speaker Madigan is saying, don't bring non-budget related issues into this. Bruce Rauner has been saying all along that term limits need to be part of this and other things. You give me these reforms and maybe I'll sign off on some new revenue if you want to, like I said, fill that halfway full glass somewhat closer to the top. So I just don't know what the dynamic is between them now, but it seems to be getting more and more tense. And I noticed that the tone of those press releases, Kerry, that you mentioned, they seem to be getting more and more agitated from the governor's office, and they're going to fill up my laptop hard drive pretty soon. They've been coming one after the other all day today.
All right. Well, we will see how that all shakes out. I mean, it does seem like the governor is getting ready to take to the streets and take to the airwaves, but if he's got to really come to a compromise at some point and sign off on a little bit more new revenue, that could be a risk for him as well. So risks for everybody all around in this one as we head toward the brink. All right, that's it for this week's edition of Only in Illinois. Thanks to Kerry Lester in Springfield for joining us. We'll see you on the next edition. Stay tuned.